When people think about the end of the First World War, they usually picture November 11th, 1918, the day the Armistice was signed. But many German leaders believe the war had actually been lost months earlier. Not in a peace conference, not in Berlin, and not even when Allied troops crossed into Germany. Instead, they believed it happened on a fog-covered battlefield in northern France on August 8, 1918. A day that German General Erich Ludendorff would later describe as the Black Day of the German Army. But what happened that morning? How could a single battle convince one of Europe's most powerful militaries that victory was no longer possible? Today we're exploring the Battle of Amiens and the day Germany realized it had lost the First World War. By the summer of 1918, Germany understood that time was no longer on its side. Russia had left the war after the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, allowing Germany to transfer hundreds of thousands of experienced soldiers from the Eastern Front to France. For the first time in years, Germany briefly held a numerical advantage in the West. Its commanders knew that advantage would not last. Every month, more American soldiers were arriving in Europe. If Germany hoped to win the war, it had to do so before American manpower could fully tip the balance. That urgency led to the massive German spring offensives of 1918. Initially, those offensives achieved impressive gains. Entire Allied lines bent backwards. For a brief moment, it appeared Germany might finally break the stalemate that had defined the Western Front for nearly 4 years. But victories on the battlefield came at an enormous cost. Germany's elite assault troops suffered irreplaceable losses. Supplies became increasingly difficult to move forward. The offensives gradually lost momentum. By August, Germany had exhausted much of its offensive strength. Now, the initiative belonged to the Allies. The Allied commanders had learned valuable lessons from years of costly fighting. Instead of relying upon a single breakthrough, they planned something far more sophisticated. The Battle of Amiens would combine artillery, tanks, aircraft, infantry, engineers, and logistics into one carefully coordinated operation. Today, we call this combined arms warfare. In 1918, it represented something revolutionary. Just as important as the weapons themselves was the element of surprise. Unlike previous offensives, there would be no lengthy preliminary bombardment warning the Germans that an attack was coming. Instead, the Allies carefully concealed their preparations. Troops moved primarily at night. False radio traffic misled German intelligence. Even many Allied soldiers knew only a small part of the overall plan. Then, at 4:20 on the morning of August 8th, everything changed. More than 3,000 artillery pieces opened fire almost simultaneously. Hundreds of tanks emerged through the thick morning fog. Aircraft swept overhead while infantry advanced behind a carefully coordinated creeping barrage. For the first time during the war, modern combined arms warfare functioned almost exactly as its planners intended. The effect was immediate. Entire German defensive positions collapsed. Thousands of soldiers surrendered. Others simply retreated. By late morning, Allied forces had advanced farther than many believed possible after years of trench warfare. This was far more than a tactical setback. It was a psychological shock. General Erich Ludendorff later described August 8th as the Black Day of the German Army. Not because Germany had lost one battle. Armies recover from lost battles. They replace equipment, they reinforce positions, and they counterattack. But Amiens revealed something much deeper. Germany no longer possessed the strength, manpower, or strategic initiative necessary to reverse the course of the war. The confidence that had driven the spring offensive only months earlier had disappeared. For many German leaders, victory was no longer a realistic possibility. The Battle of Amiens did not end the First World War. Fighting would continue for another 3 months. But from that day forward, the Allies maintained the initiative through what became known as the Hundred Days Offensive. Germany remained almost constantly on the defensive. The momentum had shifted permanently. History often remembers the day wars officially end, yet the true turning points frequently occur much earlier. Sometimes a single battle changes more than maps. Sometimes it changes belief. On August 8, 1918, Germany's armies continued fighting, but for many of the men leading them, the hope of victory had already disappeared. That is why the Battle of Amiens remains one of the most significant and most overlooked turning points of the First World War. History matters because people matter. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's story, I'd really appreciate if you would like this video and subscribe to HMS History with Michael Stroud. Those simple actions make a tremendous difference in helping YouTube recommend those often overlooked stories to more people who love history. If you'd like even more, be sure to visit michaelgstroud.com, where you can subscribe to the HMS Monthly Dispatch, my free monthly newsletter featuring behind-the-scenes research, upcoming projects, and exclusive historical insights. Until next time, history matters because people matter.